Right now, I want to welcome to the program U.S. Senator from Montana, Senator Steve Daines is with us. Senator, thank you for your time today, sir.
Glad to be with you.
It's good talking with you. And so let me just ask you first off, we saw the ATF say that it was going to hit the pause button on Tuesday of this week in terms of their proposed ammo ban on M855 ball ammunition. Are you satisfied with what you've heard from the ATF?
Well, pause is one thing. Let's just say, let's hit the stop button on this. And they can't get their story straight. We're hearing now whether was it a publishing error or a serious proposal they shelved due to public backlash. But we do know the White House has been consistent. This president supported the ban, and his administration is going to continue working towards unilateral gun control.
I think that, that concern is shared by a number of your colleagues. Although on the other side of the aisle, Senator, we are hearing word of dozens of House Democrats sending their own letter to B. Todd Jones of the ATF, urging the ATF director to take up the issue once again and to act swiftly. And we even heard today B. Todd Jones say that all 5.56 ammunition poses a threat to law enforcement officers.
Well, this gets back to why this battle is ongoing. It's never over. We must remain vigilant. I'm a lifelong sportsman. This heritage passed down to me from my grandfather and my dad. My father's a Marine. But as we all know, the Second Amendment is not primarily about hunting. It is an issue of freedom and liberty, and preserving this is so important. And the president, if he can't come in the front door by banning a gun, he'll come in the back door by banning ammunition.
And to that end, we've seen some speculation, even a comment, I think, by an ATF spokeswoman who noted that last year when the ATF re-regulated some Russian-made ammunition, they did not open it up for a public comment period. How concerned are you, Senator, that if the ATF decides to act again, although they have pledged transparency in this process, that they would simply avoid a public comment period or avoid public notification whatsoever?
Well, there hasn't been much transparency with this administration, and so I would not trust a statement like that. And frankly, at the end of the day, what we saw here is first of all, our phone started ringing off the hook. If there's an issue that gets Montanans riled up, it's any time we see President Obama and the federal government want to step in here and take our guns or our ammunition. We had thousands of calls here. We had more than 80,000 Americans who spoke out in opposition. And to the credit of your listeners, to the NRA and all the pro-gun groups, it was the voice of the people that spoke. And I think that was a very important part of stopping this. But I think we need to continue to watch very, very carefully, remain vigilant that they're not done with their plans here to put these ammunition bans in place. We've got to keep an eye on what's going on behind the scenes.
What, Senator, have you talked with your colleagues? I mean, is there likely to be an effort to go ahead and follow through with legislation, be it there are a couple of different bills out there, but do you think it's likely that we'll see legislation dealing with this issue before the ATF tries to move again?
Well, I think we need to look at all options available to us legislatively. In fact, today I just came out of a hearing this morning which is helping protect our Second Amendment rights with the Bipartisan Sportsman Act. It has some protections certainly on public lands, but also has some Second Amendment protections. And so again, this battle is never over, and that is why for the listeners here today, for NRA members, for members of other pro-gun groups, we must continue to fight. We must remain vigilant, continue to support the efforts here, because if it's not this issue, if it's this issue today, it'll be a different issue tomorrow, and it never goes away. The Second Amendment has always come under fire, and that's why we have to continue to stand in support of it.
As you and I are speaking, the Hill newspaper just tweeted out a story. House bill would ban AR-15 bullet. Representative Elliot Engel is pushing the, quote, armor-piercing bullets act. He says armor-piercing rounds like green tip should only be in the hands of military personnel or police officers, period. There is absolutely no compelling argument to be made for anybody else to have access to them. I mean, it sounds like what Representative Engel is saying, and I know that you're not Representative Engel, but it sounds like what he's saying is that for 30 years we've made the wrong choice here, and this ammo should have been all banned long ago.
Well, this is what the gun grabbers forget, is that thousands and thousands of law-abiding Americans exercise their Second Amendment rights every day. And what they're trying to do here will not make our country a safer place. In fact, it can make it a more dangerous place. And so this is why we must continue the fight. I'm reasonably confident that with the strong numbers we have in the House of those who believe in protecting the Second Amendment, combined with similar folks in the Senate, I think we'll have the votes here to stop any of these misguided efforts to try to take away guns and ammunition. And that's why I'm thankful what happened in the 2014 election. I was the first Republican elected to this seat in 101 years. I had an A-plus rating from the NRA. I ran against an opponent who had an F rating from the NRA. And that's why these elections absolutely matter. The consequences can be either good or bad. I'm grateful that we have probably some of the strongest pro-gun, pro-Second Amendment majorities in the House and the Senate than we've seen in a generation.
Listen, I can tell you, you are not the only one. I know there are millions of gun owners out there who are just as glad and who are just as proud of the work that they did during the 2014 elections. We've got the 2016 elections still to come. And in the meantime, as you say, Senator, you are hearing from those gun owners. You are hearing from your constituents about this issue. This is an issue that is clearly important to them.
Well, it is, and I'll say, as somebody who spent 28 years in business before I got in politics, I was the guy on the other side of the phone here as a listener and so forth, raising my kids, loving hunting and fishing with my kids, and then decided to get involved in public service. But the phone calls, the letters, the emails, the tweets, the Facebook postings, they all make a real difference. And I firmly believe, despite what the ATF is saying, now this might have been some kind of a typo where I think it was in part a response to the overwhelming outpouring of opposition to this proposed ruling that is the reason they said, quote unquote, they hit pause. We just need to get them to hit stop. But the point is, keep the active voice of the NRA members focused on Washington, D.C., across all the states to stop these gun grabbers.
Senator Steve Daines, Republican from Montana, thank you so much for your time, sir. It's a real pleasure talking with you. Hope we can do it again.
Hey, thanks so much. Glad to be with you.
Thank you, sir. Senator Steve Daines joining us right here on NRA News, Cam and Company.